Hi, this is Ghost Hunter Joe, and you're watching my fourth installment of stories involving my haunted childhood home located in Rockledge, Florida, shown on the next slide. I lived in this 3 bedroom, 1.5 bath, concrete block constructed house on Shepherd Drive in Rockledge, Florida from 1971 to 1973 with my mother, grandmother, brother, 2 sisters, 3 to 4 dogs, and my cat named Peter. Shortly after we moved in, we each started independently experiencing strange stuff, and our neighbors eventually informed us that the wife and mother of the family who built the house in 1961 had committed suicide in the utility room in 1969. My friend Sarah found this article reporting Shirley Becker's death in the Orlando Sentinel newspaper. This is my sister Krista's senior picture from the 1973 Rockledge High School yearbook. This video is dedicated to a few stories involving Krista's experiences. In part 3, I told you about our purebred Doberman Pinscher named Louie, which we purchased as a puppy. This is a picture of Louie as a puppy standing at the sliding double patio doors, which led from our dining room to the backyard. This is Krista laying on the grass in our backyard and playing with Louie. I remember how he liked to nibble on our ears as a puppy. Krista liked to sunbathe in our backyard. One afternoon, when she was the only one home, she was sunbathing in the backyard. This was well before the invention of cordless telephones. As Krista sunbathed, the phone, which was in the dining room just inside the sliding doors on the left, started to ring. When Krista got up to answer the phone, she found that she was locked out. This was strange because these sliding double patio doors were hard to lock and next to impossible to lock from outside. In order to lock them, one had to be fairly strong and pull the door really hard to the right and simultaneously lift the door upward so the latch would catch. My mother, grandmother, and sisters weren't strong enough to do this. So instead of locking them at night, we placed a long steel pipe at the bottom of the doors to keep them from opening. And it was also highly unusual that the utility room and front doors, which we only locked at nighttime, were also locked that afternoon, preventing Krista from entering the house. Krista turned 16 while we lived in this haunted house. Like most 16-year-olds, she obtained her driver's license at this age. Shortly after she got her driver's license, it disappeared. Everyone looked all over for it, and it could not be found. She had to go to the driver's bureau to get a replacement. 2 years later, when we moved to a new home in Rockledge and were unpacking, we found Krista's original driver's license from 2 years earlier. No one had put it in that moving box. Another object that vanished while we lived in the haunted house was a porcelain salt and pepper shaker set that were shaped like a dog and a bone, which had a very sentimental value for my mother, and she kept them in the china cabinet behind Louie in this photograph, which was taken in the dining room. One day my mother happened to notice that they were missing, and no one knew what happened to them. The only explanation I can fathom is that perhaps one of my siblings broke them and were too afraid to tell my mother. But I find it hard to believe that if this is what happened, no one has come forward after over 50 years. This is my sister Lisa riding her horse named Red with my cousin Kim's toddler daughter, Julie, in the front yard of our haunted house. Julie's father is Lloyd, who was mentioned in part 3. He and my cousin and Julie had came to our house for a visit. The reason I am including this picture is to demonstrate how old Julie was during that particular visit. A couple of years ago, I was discussing my haunted childhood home with Julie, and she mentioned how she remembered it very well, and how the alleged ghost was the reason she had been beaten by my mother. Thinking she was about to tell me a story I had never heard, she went on to tell me her version of a story I already knew about, but remembered quite differently. My mother had an antique doll head pincushion, which I thought was kind of creepy, with very realistic ivory teeth and real human hair, which she kept in a china cabinet in the dining room. My mother and I had been out and came home to find Lloyd, Kim, and Julie in the living room. Toddler Julie was playing with the doll head pincushion and claims my mother beat her for playing with it. I witnessed the entire incident. My mother was upset, and she said something to the effect, "This isn't a toy," as she grabbed the antique from Julie. But she didn't beat her. My mother was a saintly woman, and she didn't go around beating toddlers. Meanwhile, my cousin Kim insisted that the doll head was sitting on the couch upon their arrival, and that Julie did not get it out of the china cabinet. In Julie's defense, she was much too little to have gotten the antique doll head pincushion out of the china cabinet. In any event, Julie became upset with me for defending my deceased mother and unfriended me on Facebook and hasn't spoken with me since. So, did the ghost of the woman who killed herself in my haunted childhood home lock my sister out of the house while she was sunbathing one afternoon? Did it hide her driver's license shortly after she received it? Did it hide my mother's salt and pepper shakers? And did it move the antique doll head pincushion from the china cabinet in the dining room to the couch in the living room? I don't know. It's all interesting, and this is Ghost Hunter Joe saying goodbye and see you next time.